Well, I don't think, at least in my heart, that talking with you as a group, building into your life, ever gets tiring for me. I uh, I feel it's an honor to week by week speak into your life and bring a word of encouragement, bring a perspective on recovery, bring a perspective on rebuilding your primary relationships, and today is of no exception. And we're coming to you live from Manning Park Resort. Yes, I'm in a large conference hall here, so my wife can sleep. But just delighted to be with you here again, and excited for the journey that you're on, and the desire you have to be God's person and to really grow in your life and your faith and your recovery. And so yeah. Uh, Today's talk is called the images of rebuilding trust, and I would say that it's as much about the images of the ways of rebuilding trust. That's implied in my mind, but there's pictures and some people are very visually learners. They're visual learners, and they love the idea of boy, that brings a real clear picture of me, what I need to do to rebuild trust with my spouse. And so I want to talk to you about the images of rebuilding trust. Do you see, when we have been unfaithful to our spouse, whether you've acted outside the marriage or not, whether you've been unfaithful just with ongoing porn use or whatever, it's all just degrees of hurt that we've caused. And sometimes even justifying and lying about the porn use or different things we're hiding and manipulating over and over again. We have quite a road to go on to rebuild trust. Virtually every week, I look into the eyes of a partner who is struggling with believing what their spouse is saying, who's struggling with believing, is he or she really making a turnaround? Are they really serious? Can I really trust them? How do I trust them? And so these images, these 10 pictures, are going to give you kind of a template of the more these pictures are at place in your life, the more you're going to have a chance to rebuild trust. And of course, likely half of you or more, I kind of know your story. I know the journey that you're on, and I know I know your spouse, and I can picture some of the challenges. And so my prayer is that in this talk today, that you would I would open a window, as it were, for you to see clearly the whole valley of recovery and what it would include, and hopefully be an encouragement to you. So the images of the ways of rebuilding trust. And so the first image is the image of a polygraph. And I'm just talking about the image. I'm not talking about actually maybe having to do a polygraph. Usually if people have acted outside the marriage, we usually do a polygraph because the spouse wants to know if there's more. Are you telling me the whole story? But in this case here, you've got to understand that progressive disclosure, where we say, honey, that's everything, and then we tell more. That progressive disclosure is really, really harmful to the rebuilding of the marriage. And so we want to have a full disclosure rather than kind of it leaking out slowly. It's horrendously damaging and horrendously painful to say that's everything, and then her ask more questions, and you tell more and you tell more. So your spouse deserves the truth. They deserve to know what they're forgiving. It's really wise to admit all that you have to own as soon as you can. And I'm not talking about gory details. I'm not talking about things like that. But, if you're going to have to go through a polygraph, which, again, this is the idea of a full disclosure where a polygraph would push you to tell the truth. But the idea being that there's an image here for you to work hard to have a genuine confession. It's so much better than months of denial, months of pushing it off, and those kind of things. And so I'd say, man up, take responsibility, come clean. let her start healing with your full disclosure. You say, well, it's going to rock her for me to tell her everything. It's also going to tear her apart if you tell her this is everything, and then she finds out this, and then she finds out this, and she finds out this. That is really going to hurt her. So my challenge is to use the image of a polygraph and take a polygraph of the heart, as it were, that you would come clean and be honest, and that your yes be yes and your no, no, and that she has a growing sense of trust that you have shared everything. So the image of a polygraph. Secondly, guardrails. And these, of course, are healthy boundaries. I just drove, the mountain pass, number 3, the Crow's Nest Pass, to get down here to Manning. And many places, as we're driving along, there's a guardrail. Why is the guardrail there? Because maybe there's a steep embankment, or actually, like a bridge has a guardrail, because if you go off that bridge, you're dropping 140 feet into the ravine and the water below. Guardrails are really healthy things. Guardrails keep you safe. And so it's really important that we respect the need for boundaries, that we set up guardrails for our own life, for our recovery, but your spouse too may set up some boundaries where they don't feel safe. They need to put up some boundaries, and it constricts you, it limits you. But boundaries or guardrails, they give warning when you're too close to the edge or there's other dangers. And your spouse, again, will have boundaries, and you will have boundaries that you will set for yourself with your wingman and your counselor, because you want to drive your life safe. And you don't want to be constantly, smashing your car into the guardrail. Well, we didn't go over. Well, yeah, but let's learn how to drive safe within the guardrails rather than smashing against the side all the time. But your spouse's boundaries are there for you to understand and respect and adhere to. If you're going to rebuild trust, we got to respect the boundaries that she feels she needs to set, and that you need to set some boundaries to show that you're showing initiative to live a life that is clean and free. And so fight the frustration of feeling like you're being controlled or limited, right? Like I operate with very high boundaries. And actually, I've written them out 25 years ago. I operate with 20, let me see. I operate now with 52 different boundaries, 52. And it's just like, for instance, a very simple one is I don't go for lunch with another woman. Don't go for dinner with another woman. Don't go for coffee with another woman. And unless there's a crisis, I don't drive in a car with another female by myself. And if I have to help someone on the side of the road, I call Donna and say, hey, just so you know, I picked up Barbara here, and Barbara's got a flat tire. I'm just going to drive her to the next service station. So my wife hears from me right away that I'm having an occasion with someone in the car with me. And you say, well, gee, Dave, you must have really been a problem, messed up man that your wife has to have that. I said, no, I've never cheated on my wife once in 50 years. Never been unfaithful. And yet I want these boundaries there because I want her to walk in just complete trust. Dave he just operates with clear boundaries. She hasn't asked for any boundaries. I've set them all, because when you've said as many things that I've said publicly, when you take a strong stand about life in the Lord and recovery and following Jesus and marital commitment as I have, I believe there's, I'm not trying to say I'm better than anybody, but I'm just saying sometimes I know there's a target on my back that the enemy would love to take me down. And I refuse. I just surrender to Jesus, give it to Jesus, and I follow him, and I live with my 50-some boundaries. And these guardrails show that our marriage has healthy boundaries. And there's no trust without boundaries. Oh, just trust me. I'm going over here, and well, who are you going with? Well, I'm not sure yet. And well, what's going to happen over there? Well, whatever goes on that's not really good, I'll stay away. I'll be safe. Don't worry about me. Yeah, whatever. Right. And so guardrails is a wonderful picture. The third picture is the ever ready, or Energizer Bunny rather, and this has to do with reliability. Of course, they tote the fact that the ever Energizer Bunny is always reliable. always keeps going when the others fade out. And, when you keep your word, when you follow through on what you say you're going to do, and you do that over and over and over and over again, trust is going to be rebuilt because you're reliable. What you say and what you do matches. There's a congruency between what you say and what you do. And that congruency is incredibly trust building. And sadly, wake up, because some of you, this is your story. Trust is not rebuilt by doing a few convincing actions a few times. Well, I don't know what you can expect. I did this. So you did one thing one time and you're supposed to go, oh, I trust you now, honey. Everything's different. No. It's a change of behavior over a period of time where your word is reliable. You see, she has to believe behavior. We tell people, listen, because the person who's been the addict has been lying a lot, their word it's not really that reliable. And so you need to believe behavior. You believe what they do, not what they say, what they do. And that's, of course, she wants to see real changes. You follow through on commitments without her prompting. Oh, you didn't remind me. I'm sorry. It's not my fault. You should have reminded me. No, that's a flippin' emotional adolescent. That's a flippin' 13-year-old. Oh, you got to remind me. Could you wake me up in the morning or whatever, right? And, just your word starts to mean something when you operate with reliability. And that battery never wears out, the desire to speak the truth, live the truth, do what you say. Fourthly, the picture of a monitor. I've had numerous times to have surgeries. Had an ear surgery and knee surgeries and different things, and they put monitors on you. Matter of fact, I had an ear surgery, I don't know, about 6 years ago. And it was rather entertaining because I'm sitting there. It's early in the morning. It's like I was going to be the first one, I guess. So it was about 6:15 in the morning, and my wife is with me, and I'm in the gown already, with the bare butt look and everything, right? And I'm just waiting for them to come, and they got the monitors on with the heart this and the pulse that and everything, and all the little dials, just like you see in the picture there, the monitor, and all of a sudden my machine goes beep, 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 and they come run over. Are you okay? And I go, yeah. My wife's right there. I'm fine. And oh, okay. So she turns the button and it goes back to monitoring me again. And I don't know, about 3 or 4 minutes later, it goes beep, 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 beep again. And they come running and say, well, are you okay? I says, yeah, I'm just fine. Surgery is going to be another 10 minutes. I'm sitting here waiting. I'm just fine. And she says, are you one of those fit guys? Oh, I guess I'd like to think so. She says, well, this machine starts beeping if your heart rate gets below 50. So you've hit 48 and 49 a few times. So if it goes again, just hit this switch here and we won't bug you. Okay, so obviously that was kind of fun. I was going into surgery, obviously not very nervous, and my heart rate was at rest at a very very healthy level, and I have a reasonable measure of fitness. But I bring that up because it monitors all kinds of vitals: heart rate, blood pressure, oxygen levels, all kinds of things, and genuine accountability it reveals what's going on in my heart, mind, and soul, much like the monitor in the hospital. If you're in an intensive care unit, there's monitors monitoring everything, and it registers at the nursing station if there's a problem with one of the people in one of the rooms, because the monitors track everything. You see, genuine accountability is like the monitors in ICU. You see, it monitors truth. Your wingman, having a person in your life that really knows your world and monitors your world, someone who your spouse trusts and actually confirms that you're actually doing good. and also can flash a warning if there's something that's kind of an unsafe zone, just like the monitor in ICU. And then you're wise to own your mistake and apologize, make amends, because you understand with no accountability, there's no trust. Because you've broken trust because of your behavior and your lies. And now to rebuild trust, you actually have to be accountable, yes, to your wife, because we want you to fill her in on anything she asks, and you volunteer an update once a week. That's the weekly recovery update, a document that I suggest that you do once a week for 10 or 15 minutes and just volunteer what you're doing to show that you're recovering. But without accountability, no accountability, no trust, because your life needs to be monitored. I've been 34 years out here in BC and another 8 years previous. So that would mean 42, I believe it is, out of the 50 years married, I've been weekly accountable to another man. I will not, the rest of my life, not be accountable every week to another person. I'll meet with Larry tomorrow morning, just like this, via Zoom or FaceTime, and we'll continue to meet even though I'm not in the Abbotsford area. But monitor, genuine accountability. And if you have really good accountability partner that your wife trusts, that's a big step towards rebuilding trust. The fifth picture is the picture of a vault. And you see a picture of a vault there with some kind of banker standing in front of this massive vault. You see, you've got to be trustworthy. And you say, well, why wouldn't I be trustworthy if my wife tells me something? But sadly, many addicts try to turn things around and blame their wife for issues. And so when your wife shares something with you, or is frustrated with you or whatever, you need to hold what she shares with you in full confidence. Now, yes, talk things through with a counselor to get perspective. I'm not saying you don't just open up about some things, but she needs to feel safe that your addiction is not pinned on her. Don't garner sympathy from other people by revealing her struggles. You should see the other day, she just lost it. And how am I supposed to recover when she's screaming and yelling and calling me an effing idiot? And, okay, whatever, right? And you see that you just broke confidentiality, and it's really her reacting to your pain. And respect the confidentiality between you. Choose a few trusted friends, and obviously a counselor or pastor that you can work through issues with. No gossip, no slander. And I guess that your wife needs to feel safe with you, that you don't kind of turn this around and somehow pin it on her. That it's I wouldn't be in this mess if my wife wasn't so hard to get along with or whatever. Number 6, you see the picture of the person placing their hand on the Bible. It's not done the same anymore, but for years, of course, we saw it on all the courtroom shows. But swearing in is, you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help me God. And you say, I do. But lying in any area is a huge trigger for your spouse. You say, well, Dave, it's not fair. I was just, lying a little bit about, something was going on at work. Yeah, but remember, this whole thing, your addiction has been cloaked in lying and consistent lying and misrepresenting the truth. And lying in of itself is a massive trigger for most partners. Because for most people who struggle with addiction are also struggling with lying. They're addicted to the porn and all that, but they're also addicted to lying. And her catching you in a lie, or where you're kind of fudging the truth, it sets her back to a place of rawness and hurt. But the problem is lying has come so easy for you. You've lied so naturally. And it's hard to change, but it needs to change. You need to be a man of your word. And just like it says in the movies, it's time to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help me God. I want to tell the truth. And truth anchors trust. If you want to have your wife grow to trust you, tell the truth about everything. Tell the truth about everything, period. Number 7, the magnifying glass. And this represents sincere transparency. You see, because if you hold a magnifying glass, you're looking at something that you can't quite see with the naked eye. And obviously, I have glasses on, so I have my eyesight enhanced. As I've got older, I need a little more. But the magnifying glass I pull out sometimes because there's something that my wife and I can't read, and we use the magnifying glass to reveal details that the human eye can't easily see. It brings clarity. Nothing is hidden with the magnifying glass. A matter of fact, if you've done any work with a microscope in the biology or chemistry labs, you'll understand the power of adjusting that microscope to look at a slide or an animal, a beetle or whatever, and just to see the makeup of it. It really nothing is hidden. But see, transparency exposes who you are as you humbly and accurately reveal your life journey in recovery. Transparency. Go ahead, take the magnifying glass out and look at my life. Put it under the magnifying glass, put it under the microscope. This appropriate openness reflects your humanness and a sincere desire and attempt to forthrightly disclose what is going on inside you. You're being honest, you're being open, you're being transparent. You're giving her permission to take the magnifying glass, ask questions, look close, and have it, as it were, verified by her close scrutiny. But just a sincere transparency where you will, as it were, be under the microscope. Number 8 is the word pearl. And this, of course, is referring to the idea of lasting patience. You all know that a pearl develops when a bit of grit, grime, a little stone gets inside the oyster. And over time, it is covered with this beautiful coating that makes them priceless. But it takes a lot of time to develop. And patience is required in recovery. You see, the idea is the pearl of great price is the beautiful relationship that you desire to have with your partner. That's the pearl. As it were, she is the pearl, but it's the relationship that I'm going after. And patience is required as your spouse goes through this journey. Their hurts, their triggers, their reactions, their hesitance to forgive you. And you might go into, oh my goodness, like, what are you going to forgive me? What do I got to do here? I can't do enough. And you go into those kind of, sad reactions, and into crazy statements like, well, you just got to forgive me. Forgiveness, God asks you to forgive. And you're starting to moralize. You're not being patient. The truth is, they will likely recover at a pace that's too slow for you. But just like something beautiful develops with patience, something beautiful develops with patience. One of the men on the call today told me that tomorrow he's 365 days clean. And I told him, I said, this talk will be really affirming to you, because through your patience and letting her work through her hurts and her get angry and her think about leaving you and her working through all that and getting to the point where she forgives you. And now you have this wonderful growing relationship starting to develop. The pearl is happening for this man. But he was patient, and he needed to be, because she had to work through a lot of things. But I just celebrate pearls developing in relationships. I got a pearl. I guess I'm the grit and my wife is the pearl at the end. But in any case, let's go to number 9, the picture of a parachute. And the key words there, of course, is the idea of full commitment. When you, and I haven't parachuted, but I have bungee jumped, and there's some similarities there where you're trusting your whole being to something else. I jumped in Whistler 165 feet, like, 16 stories of a building. And when you jump out of a plane, thinking of being held by a colored bed sheet, yeah, this is a good idea. Like it's crazy, it's gutsy. But you have to go all out. You can't jump out of the plane and hang on to the side of the plane at the same time. You'll be literally, your shoulder will be ripped off, um, because you have to trust the parachute. You have to take that leap of faith. And recovery is like that. Your faithfulness to do the work, to stay the course, to never miss regroup, to check in daily. Your commitment builds trust. You're frankly all out, no holds barred commitment to do the work and keep doing it over and over again and sell out. Just leap out of the plane and trust the parachute that it's going to hold you. But full commitment to the journey. So the idea of that leap of faith that says, okay, if I'm going to recover, I am all in. I am all in. Don't be half baked in recovery. Be all in. The last picture is the white flag of surrender. And most people, it doesn't feel like a man thing to surrender. But this image here, I actually have a whole talk I do on the idea of surrender. And, there's the white flag surrender where I give up. You've heard in the wrestling world or the boxing world, the corner throws in the towel. They throw in the white towel tied in a knot. They throw it in the middle, and the referee stops the fight because the corner concedes to the other team because the young boxer is just getting beat up and he's still standing, but he's liable of getting hurt and seriously damaged. And so there's the idea of giving up, which is, or tapping out, which is, that's the mixed martial arts. You tap. Once you tap, he stops fighting. That's surrender. But you see, the one is giving up, like surrendering. One is giving in. You toss the towel in. But the image that I want on surrender is this, even though I've used the white flag. I remember when my son, when he was a teenager, once he got his driver's license, we were heading out to my car, and it was not the car the kids were going to drive. We had one that could handle a few dents and scrapes, but it was the car that I was driving. And we went out to the car, and he says, "Hey, Dad," he put his hand up. "Hey, Dad, here, toss me the keys. Let me drive." Am I going to let my 16-year-old drive the better car of the family? Like, yeah, I'm going to be with him, but am I really going to turn the keys over to him? And I remember that day I didn't hesitate because he was a very trustworthy young man. And I tossed the keys over to him. You see, I surrendered control. You see, I gave over the keys. And don't think surrender is giving up like the white flag, though I have that here, or that it's giving in like throwing in the towel. It's giving over. I toss the keys over to my son, so he puts them in the ignition, he starts the car, he has control of the car. And invariably, surrender is I give over the keys to Jesus. I give over the keys to have a say in my life to my spouse, and then I fully surrender the control of my life to God. I give over, not give up, not give in, but give over. And I submit to the direction and scrutiny of others. But just by being on regroup to some extent, although there's people that come on this call, they don't really listen to learn. They just, do it to check a box and tell, yeah, I was at regroup. Currie talked about, he talked about rebuilding trust today. Oh, they go, oh, well, that's really good, right? But you're not really in. But the point is that you would listen and respond to your spouse and concerns that she has about aspects of recovery, that you volunteered your whereabouts, that you volunteer your activities, your associates, everything in your life, you give over and surrender to your spouse and to the Lord. Because remember, it is giving over control, like giving the keys to your wife or to the Lord, so that you will surrender fully. And that surrender, that humble surrender, that being teachable, changes everything. So those 10 pictures are the images of rebuilding trust, but they're also the way of rebuilding trust. Because if you look at the words, the two words after each picture, full disclosure, healthy boundaries, complete reliability, genuine accountability, all the way through, those particular words are ideal in your recovery journey. The more you have those images and those ways in place, the better your recovery is going to be. So my prayer was that you would talk honestly about which of the images you're missing, and that you would even ask your spouse, print this and say, hey, look at these and tell me where I'm the weakest. I want to improve. I want to be 10 for 10 on these images of rebuilding trust with you, because that's my heart. So that's my prayer, that you would be on a journey to become the person God wants you to be, fully recovered, fully trustworthy, and have built trust with your spouse again. I hope that's encouraging to you.